everybody, welcome to the show. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Raising A to Z. It is a YouTube channel all about homeschooling. My name is Amanda. I am a teacher-turned-homeschool mom, and today I'm going to do some planning. So we are less than a week away from officially starting our summer break, summer plan, summer schedule, whatever you want to call it. We are officially less than a week away from starting that. My husband, who is a high school teacher, he is done. As of Friday, he will be done everything. All the classes he teaches and all his marks and report cards, all that will be done, as well as the class that he's taking currently. So he will be done all of that by Friday, and he will officially be on a summer break with us. So yeah, my summer schedule and our summer routine starts Friday, and that's very exciting, but it also means that I'm trying to get some stuff done before he comes home for the summer, right? Because he's home for the summer, we have to change our routine a little bit because, whenever things change or there's an extra person in the house, you have to change your routine, and that's fine. But when hubby is home, when dad is home, there's a lot more spontaneity that happens. He is the spontaneous one in the relationship. He is also the adventurous one. And so we just have to be ready to do a lot more adventures, be a lot more spontaneous, and do some stuff. Because I'm a planner type, and I know that about myself, if I want to be able to have the mental and emotional space to be spontaneous and to go on these adventures and do all this stuff, I kind of need to do my planning now. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to show you how I do my long-term annual planning for our next year, because then it's all done. So basically I get to do it now, get it all finished, and then I will get to kind of enjoy my summer, relax, all that kind of stuff. And then about a week before school, we actually get back into our fall routine, I'll pull out my planner and do kind of my first month and get a little more in depth. But in terms of my annual plans, the things that I'm going to be hoping to do for the big picture, I'm going to do that planning today. If I can get all my planning done and all my curriculum, it gives me some more headspace, because now I'd have another person home with us who can kind of do a little more supervision or different activities with the kids. It gives me a little bit of a break, and also a little bit more headspace, so I can work on some other projects like updating our website, or writing another book, or starting a podcast, or any number of those things that I have dreams of doing and I've been trying to get started but just haven't had the time. So I like to get my planning done before the summer starts so I can relax and work on other things while I have the extra set of hands around, and so that we can be free to go on adventures and I'm not thinking about all the details and all of that. I can just kind of relax. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to plan our year. I'm going to show you how I plan my unit studies. I'm going to show you how I arrange my year, my big plans, my annual plans. So the last 2 weeks, I have been doing curriculum videos with what we're going to be doing come September, what we're using. If you want to see those videos, there's going to be links up here, as well as put links down in the description. Alexi's going to be going into grade 2. Zoe is going to be doing senior kindergarten, a year 2 kindergarten program. And so that's what we're doing. All those curriculum, everything, all the workbooks, everything that we're using is going to be in those videos. You can see what they look like and what we're using and why. And so that's really cool. So that has already been decided. I've already decided what curriculum I'm doing. And basically for me, most of the time, I'm basically just working through the books that I have. I find that works really well for us. So what I'm doing today is kind of figuring out not the math and not the language, but the unit studies, the science, the social studies, the history, the geography, all of those other subjects. What are we going to do? So for today, I am going to be using one of these beautiful homeschool planners, the Essential Homeschool Planner. I made these. They are available on Amazon if you are interested. They come in coffee, rainbow. We have this funky shapes, which I love. We have apple blossom. So you can purchase one of these homeschool planners if you want to join along with me while I'm planning. It is totally, you can pick one up on Amazon. It'll come printed, bound, delivered right to your door. If you are more of a print it yourself kind of person, you can also find these on our website as a PDF. so you can print it yourself and have it however you want at home. That is what I'm going to be doing because I'm going to get myself set up to do our homeschool planning. I think I'm going to use this funky shapes. This is one of my favorite covers to design this year, so I think I'm going to use this one. I love the other ones too. I actually had a really hard time picking which planner will officially be the one I work with this year. I really like them all. So I think I'm going to use this one. I've got a couple other supplies here that I like to have access to if I need them. I have obviously my laptop in case I need to like check something or I need an idea or something. I have that nearby. I've got my pen, so I've got my Sharpie fine tip black. This is my favorite kind of pen to use. And then I also have a whole bunch of like these funky, fun Paper Mate flares. These are just my favorite colored pens to use. I also like to have a pack of Post-it notes. I find these are great for making lists of things that when you want to take it with you. So like if I know I'm going to need supplies for something, I love to have a Post-it note in the planners. So if I'm like, okay, I'm going to need to pick up white glue, pink string, like if there's something specific that I need for a specific activity or whatever, I make my list of supplies that I need for that unit and I just keep it in my planner. And then when we get close to that unit or we need it, it's very easy for me to like pull it out and take it to the store with me. So I like to have some Post-it notes. Oh, I gotta have a drink, right? My favorite iced green tea lemonade. We're gonna start planning our homeschool year for next year. So when I design this, show you what it looks like while we're going through it, of course. So first off, of course, there's some great, super cute quotes all throughout about like education and learning and homeschooling. We have our year at a glance, so we can kind of see things that we need to see what the year looks like. And then we get into these planning review pages. And I love these pages. I include them because I think it's so important to look back on what worked, what didn't, what goals you have that you want to add in, or the things that you need to take out because they're just not working for you anymore. It just really gives you a great place to start when it comes to what your year looked like and what you want your year to look like in the future. So you're going to do it with me because that's how we're doing this. So what worked for us last year, for us, the huge win last year was obviously unit studies. I did a lot more unit studies last year than I've ever done. We've done themes, especially with the kids being younger, like when Alexi was in kindergarten, we did like theme weeks. But for us, the unit studies this year were phenomenal. And it was especially great right after Christmas. You'll hear me say this again and again, that I find having a really good, exciting hands-on unit study right after Christmas, like so in January, February, it's just been a game changer for us. So it definitely gives us something to look forward to because we usually take a bit of a break at Christmas. It helps like jumpstart us back into our routine after being off and doing all the festive things. But I also find it really helps us stay motivated when it's -40. So unit studies, especially after Christmas, we did mythical creatures, all about like unicorns, mermaids, dragons, and my kids absolutely loved it. We loved a lot of the unit studies we did this year, like a lot of the topics we covered, but those big favorite topics right after Christmas, like we did mythical creatures and then we did fairy tales, made our like coming out of Christmas so much easier. Other things that worked really well, we started a co-op. So this year we did a co-op with a couple of friends from our church and from like people that we know from church circles and stuff. And so we ended up starting a little co-op, mostly like a social kind of gathering thing. And it worked so well, especially since we were in lockdown for a lot of the winter. So like a lot of the activities were canceled. A lot of like the classes that our kids normally would take were canceled. And so it was kind of a nice option for us to like say, okay, we're meeting up at this park, or we're going to go to this person's house, and just kind of still keep our kids seeing people somewhat regularly. And that was really fun. And our kids just like look forward to it. Every single week they were just like, is a co-op day, is a co-op day. And so yeah, co-op was fantastic, and we're really hoping to continue that come the fall. Those are things that worked really well this year. What didn't work so well this year? This one is kind of hard for me to say. So for me, making all my own unit studies has been something that I've been doing for since we started homeschooling, and doing like the themes and the unit studies and picking all of the activities. I've been doing that for every unit for the last like 4 years, 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And it's this year, especially since we had a really rough spring. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to take on. And so I won't be making all of my own unit studies again. I definitely will be making some of them, and I definitely will be making, like, supplementing the unit studies we have. But in terms of doing like everything, in terms of like figuring out all the worksheets or all of the activities and all of the learning and all of the books and everything, I am going to kind of pass that on to other people. So this year I did, in our curriculum video, you'll see that I did pick out a couple, not all of them, but a couple unit studies from Teachers Pay Teachers, where they had like worksheets, reading pages, different unit study packs. And I was able to pick out a couple that were on kind of popular topics. And so I'm going to be using those as like the foundations for not a lot of, but at least half of the unit studies. I'm not going to be making all of them, but I will definitely be, if it's a really popular topic, I'm definitely going to like outsource the creation and just like supplement with fun things. So yeah, I think that was one thing that I found was overwhelming this year, because I love making the unit studies. Like, that's something I do love making the unit studies. That's the teacher in me, but doing it full time with the 2 kids and the YouTube channel, like, it was a lot for me, and I would be disappointed if we didn't get things done. So, I know sometimes I was like, I forgot to come up with something, or we didn't have the supply or whatever. And so just kind of taking one thing off of my plate a little bit was I'm going to be pulling in a couple pre-made unit studies come the fall. Right? We adjust, we adapt. Then I'm going to move on to what to add in. So I always think there's things that you want to add in, and there's things you want to take out. And so things that I'm going to add in this year: music. My husband's a musician. He has like a degree in music composition. His mother is a musician. His dad plays, his sister plays. I have a musical background as well. Like, big music people, we never get around to music lessons. Like, we literally have two ukuleles, a piano, a guitar. I'm looking at our music section. We have harmonicas, we have cajones, we have all kinds of instruments, and we have 2 ukuleles. Like, we never get around to it. So one of the things that I'm going to focus on this year is music lessons. And I think for me, the biggest thing to do about the music lessons is actually adding music practice to our like morning routine. Typically, if you've ever seen one of our scheduling videos, you know that I basically have like a morning block routine where we do reading, writing, math. And then a couple times a week, I'll add in like unit studies or art or hands-on activity. I think this year, the thing that I'm going to change up and that I'm going to add is going to be reading, writing, math, and music. And so whether it is they come down and practice for a few minutes, whether they come down and do a lesson, I think it's just going to be helpful, because that was one of the things that we were struggling with. Was my husband would teach the lesson, because he's more of a musician than I am. I can do a little bit, but he's definitely more of a musician. He would teach the lesson, and then I would forget, and the kids would forget, and then he'd come back the next week and the kids had not practiced at all. They didn't remember anything, and then he was basically teaching the same lesson kind of like 2 or 3 times. And then they were getting bored because they were doing the same lesson again and again. So I think that by adding the like music practice, even if it's just like 10 minutes or like running your songs 2 or 3 times, whatever it is, that'll give them that practice so that they can advance quicker. And I think for me, that's just going to be like, I think I need to remember is to like, by putting it into that block, it'll remind me that like that is something we need to do more frequently. And so I'm hoping that'll kind of like kickstart our musical life, because my kids love music. Like, Alexi and Zoe sing all the time. They make music all the time. They play the drums all the time. We just can't get lessons together. So we're going to try something different. We're going to put it in our regular morning routine. And I think that might be the key. Other things we're going to add in. So the other thing was, we're going to go talk about our co-op a little bit. We're going to add some more structure, I think. So we had a chat, me and one of the other moms who kind of do a lot of the planning of it. And we were feeling that basically it was her and I who were making all the decisions. And we were waiting for other people in the co-op to help us make decisions on what was happening and what we were going to be doing. And no one ever did. So often it would be like, she and I would be like on a Tuesday, hey guys, what are we doing on Thursday? And we'd be kind of scrambling to come up with a plan. So I think this year, one of my goals for our homeschool and our co-op is to kind of come up with a kind of a routine or like a schedule of what we're doing and where we're going and when we're doing it ahead of time. Whether that means like once a month we're going to a gym, once a month we're going to like a bigger outing that is more expensive. We try to do like one bigger outing or a field trip, doing one visit one family home per month and do like one other activity. So I think we're going to try to add a little bit more structure and kind of like plan that out maybe like 4 months in advance, like the whole winter, and see how that works out for us, because I think that'll just take a lot of stress off of us, but it'll also take a lot of stress off of the other members of the group who feel like they're overwhelmed or they don't know what to contribute. It basically just kind of lay it out for everybody. So I think that's gonna be something we're gonna try to add, is a little bit more of a structured feel, not necessarily in like the meetups of co-op, but like where we're going and planning that out a little bit better in advance. And the other thing I want to add is a little bit more social. I'm thinking of joining Frolicking Fridays, which is a local homeschool group. It's kind of like the big homeschool group that they have here in Greater Sudbury. And I'm thinking of joining that. I'm on their Facebook page. I know the person who runs it. And basically she you join it, it's a free for all. Like she says, here's what we're doing this week. Show up if you want. But she also likes to plan kind of like bigger events. So like she planned a track and field event this year. She wants to plan a science fair for next year. So I'm thinking of joining that, and even if we just go once or twice a month, just adding that a different group of friends, people who've been homeschooling a little bit longer for a little bit more support. And I think it would just be kind of like, because she's planning bigger events with bigger kids, kind of giving them some different activities to do. So that is definitely something that I'm considering, even if it's, like I said, if it's only once or twice a month or only for like the bigger activities, but definitely joining some of those that bigger group to kind of give us a little bit more social time. And this is going to be important for a couple of reasons, especially one of the things that we're taking out. This is why Frolicking Fridays is going to be becoming so important for us, is that we're taking a play group. And I'm really sad about this. So we've been going to a church play group for 7 years. Our church play group for 7 years. Alexi was 6 weeks old when I started. And we went every single week. Like, I can count on probably my 2 hands how many days we've missed since we joined playgroup. It was so bad that the year I was pregnant with Zoe, the only day I missed playgroup was the day I gave birth. Like, I literally had Zoe on a Tuesday night at 11:45. Playgroup was at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And I remember joking with Stefan, like, do you think they'd give me a pass just to go and visit? Because, like, our church and the hospital, like, right near each other. I was like, do you think they'd give me a pass just to go and say hi and then I'll come right back? And he was like, Amanda, that's not even funny. But, like, that's how much we went to playgroup. Like, literally, the pastor would call me and she'd be like, it is snowstorming, do not come, because I would be the only one who would drive. And I live the farthest away from playgroup too. Like, that's kind of the joke. But we went all the time. But my kids are just getting too old. It really makes me sad. So they are getting too old. And especially it's becoming more and more apparent. Like this past week especially, I was like, you guys are really getting too old for this. Especially Alexi. Like, because it's a playgroup, most of the parents who are there have kids who are under 4. They're not school age. And so a lot of them have babies or they're on their mat leave with 1 or 2 kids. And so Alexi will be 7, Zoe will be 5, and the next kid down is 3. Like, the next kid is 3 years old. And then it's a bunch of like 3 and under, like babies and toddlers and stuff. And there was another homeschool family that does come to playgroup, but they are moving away in August to like a different province. So literally it would be like my 2 big kids and then a whole bunch of like toddlers. And so we're just not going to be going to playgroup anymore because they're getting too big, like literally too big. Alexi and her little homeschool friend that was there, they were running in the room around the toddlers, and I was just like, stop running. They jumped onto like the slide thing, and they almost toppled it over because it's not made for 7-year-olds. And it's just becoming more and more apparent that they're getting too big for playgroup. And so, yeah, it does work out that one of our church activities that we're doing is we're starting a choir that is going to run. And so like my husband and I are going to be running kids choir. And so my kids will still have an activity to do at the church. It's just, it won't be playgroup, like it won't be sit down, have a coffee with moms and watch the kids play, because my kids are just too big. Anyway, that is what I'm adding. That's what I'm taking out. That's what worked. That's what didn't work. I've done some reflecting and I'm ready to move on to kind of my longer term planning. So because I had so many people request that maybe the homeschool planner start earlier, I actually did. I switched it from a September start to an August start. So the planner now starts in August, but it still runs the full 12 months. So it goes beginning of August to the end of July. Long-term planning. So this is where I am going to start putting in my unit studies, what we're going to be studying. And I think people are surprised when I talk about unit studies. They're very, very surprised that I let my kids pick what we study. I do have a tip. So I ask my kids what they want to learn, and that's what we learn for the year. I do have a tip though, and I feel like this is like super important. I give my kids a heads up on me asking the question. So I will say, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm going to ask you, what do you want to learn about next year? Think about it. Don't tell me now. Think about it and come back in 2 weeks and tell me. And then over the next 2 weeks, I will say, hey, I'm going to be asking you real soon. What do you want to learn? Keep thinking about it. Hey, have you been thinking about that? Keep thinking about it, and give them kind of like a 2-week span to think about what they want to learn. And then I sit them down individually, like when they're totally separate, because I find that works better. And I ask them, what do you want to learn about next year? And usually I try to get like 3 to 4 ideas out of them. Sometimes it's 3, usually is pretty consistent, and it works so well. You got to give them that prepping time though, because otherwise literally they just go like this. I want to learn about houseplants and books and pens and cameras and lights, and like they just start looking around and just naming things, and it's not helpful at all. So I give them some time, especially when they're young, to kind of think about things, wrap their head around things, and then they come up with some really, really cool ideas. So that's what I did. I asked them, they each came up with about 3. They usually come up with like 3 or 4. Sometimes you get to like, I can like combine their ideas to like study one topic. Sometimes their ideas are just like, it's not a full unit study in a sense. Like Zoe wanted to study chairs, things people sit on, chairs and stools. And I was like, I don't really see that as a unit study right now. We can definitely come back to that in the future if you want to build some furniture, but like for right now, I don't really see that as a unit study. Sometimes you have to filter some things out. Sometimes you combine their ideas. Alexia wanted to learn about like ancient civilizations and stuff like that. Zoe wanted to learn about the olden times. Her words, I want to learn about the olden times. So we definitely like picked an ancient civilization and that like put them together, right? So I aim to do about 8 to 9 unit studies a year. It works out really well because most kids, if you look at the curriculum in Ontario, we typically do about 4 science units and then 2 to 4 social studies topics, history and geography, depending on the grade level. Like under grade 6, I think it's 2 topics, and then over grade 6, it's 4 for social studies. So it's history and geography, 2 for history, 2 for geography. So if I do 8, I am doing the same number of like topics. If I do 9, I'm doing more than that. Yeah, I find it's just a really easy way because then I can focus on one subject at a time. And we obviously pull other subjects and things into it, but it's kind of a nice way to like dive deep into like one topic. So if my kids only come up with like 6 total, I kind of start suggesting things, and if they seem interested in it, then we do that. So topics I came up with for this year. I'm going to show you how I plan this out. It's August because we are still going to be in summer mode and still doing a lot of traveling and stuff. I'm not planning a unit study. I don't plan unit studies over July and August because of that. But August is the month where I do my reset. So this is, I go through and I do a big deep clean on my homeschool room. I get new supplies because if you don't know this, school supplies are the cheapest in August. Definitely going to want to pick up any school supplies you're going to need for the whole year. Do it in August. Paper, pens, markers, notebooks, do it all. Get it in August because it's so cheap. So I'm going to do that. I usually go through and like clear our bookshelves. Anything that's like too young or too babyish, those tend to get like, or things that are just we're not interested in, I'll send those off to the used bookstore. So August is kind of like my reset month. Then we start getting into our unit study. So I always like to start with something kind of like punch out big. So for September, we are going to be doing Ancient Egypt. This is kind of funny. So Zoe wanted to learn about the olden times. Alexi wanted to learn about ancient Egypt. But it's funny because we were at the ROM over March break. We have a video up here if you want to see that. We went to the ROM and we saw a mummy. And Alexi thought it was the coolest thing ever. And Zoe was terrified. And Zoe was like, I never want to learn about Egypt ever, ever, ever. But then Alexi kept talking about it. And so Zoe came back and she goes, as long as I don't have to look at a mummy again in person, I think that would be cool to learn. So we're going to do ancient Egypt. This is one that I actually got a PDF for, a PDF pack. This one was free. I found when they have really popular topics, because everyone loves doing ancient Egypt, you can find a lot of really popular, really inexpensive curriculums and like unit study packs. I found one on Pinterest and it was a totally free download. And that's what I'm going to use as like the foundation for that unit study. So that's great. So that's what we're doing in September. We're doing ancient Egypt. In October, Alexi came up with this one, but it totally is like right in Zoe's wheelhouse as well. They want to do nocturnal animals. So this is, I think I got a PDF for this one too. This one I got off Teachers Pay Teachers. And this is going to be like owls, bats, wolves, possums, raccoons. Learning about animals that come out at night. And I think it's kind of dark and spooky without being Halloween-y, but like totally falls into like Zoe's love of all things Halloween, because Zoe loves Halloween. Kind of a little bit on the spooky side. Not a little Halloween, but not Halloween-y. Like it's going to be a really fun kind of unit study to do in like October as things are getting darker, as we're getting into like a spookier season. I think it'll be a fun unit study. I'm surprised Alexi picked it because it's like animals aren't typically her thing. Maybe they're becoming her thing. She did pick a couple different more animal nature-based unit studies this year than she normally does, but I'm excited to try that. November, this is going to be a unit study that I make myself. This is what Zoe picked. She wanted to learn about food and cooking. And I thought that was a great activity to do kind of as the weather gets cold for us, because here we kind of have November's a weird month for us. It's usually very, very cold, but there's no snow yet, or very little snow. And so it's kind of hard to get outside sometimes. It's dark, it's dingy, it's cold, but there's no snow, so you can't really like go sliding or do any of the winter activities yet. So we end up spending a lot of time inside. So doing a unit on like food groups, cooking skills, like cutting, cleaning food, prepping things like that, doing some baking, reading recipes, like that's the kind of thing we're going to be doing for the month of November. December. Typically in December, especially since they're so young, we don't do a unit study. We take the month off and we just do Christmas. It's so busy in December. You'll hear me say this every year. It's just so busy between like concerts and like all the special activities that happen during like December Christmas things. It's just so busy that you just burn out. So we don't do any unit study in December. In fact, often we've taken the entire month off of workbooks just to focus on doing like the festive things. So especially since things have kind of opened up a lot and we're hoping they'll stay open this fall, and it looks like they will. Yeah, there's going to be like concerts for the first time in 2 or 3 years. The kids are going to be singing in the choir. Like there's going to be like readings at the library with Santa and all those kind of things that we just haven't been able to do, but also like it fills up your schedule, right? And so we're just not going to do unit study for the month of December. And that's okay. January. I'm going to need something really exciting come January because we're going to be off for all December. So something that is going to kind of like kickstart us, something that's going to be really exciting and super hands-on is always great. And so my kids picked artists. So we're going to study the life of artists, and we're going to study different techniques and do a whole month of painting, drawing, sketching, all kinds of stuff. Color theory. I should do that. Write that down. Color theory. I always forget about color theory. Perfect. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing in January. I think it'll be a really good activity because, again, it's going to be super cold. We're going to need something exciting. My kids are going to get into that. All right, what are we going to do after January? February. February is another month when we need a little, we gotta kind of keep the trajectory going, right? Because, again, it's still so cold. And so we're going to do the unit that Alexi picked. Alexi really wants to do a fashion unit. So she wants to learn about, we're going to learn about types of clothing and their names. So like names of necklines, names of pants, names of sleeves, names of different things like that, like the proper name of different kinds of clothing, fabrics. And we're also going to do some sewing and work on making some simple outfits. Because there's some like simple skirts, maybe a simple dress, depending on how it goes. But like a really simple skirt or something like that would be really easy, and she would totally love that. We're doing a whole unit on fashion. And again, so you're looking at like a unit like fashion, there's not going to be a ton out there of like pre-made units that are going to be inexpensive. So that's a unit that I'm definitely going to build myself because there's only so many, you know what I mean? Like it's not something that like is being taught in schools, or it's not something that most people are like picking out for their kids to learn about, but that's what my kids want to learn. So that's what we're going to learn. And in the process, we're going to learn about like designers and the history and all that. So like it's a great unit. It'll be really hands-on. And I think they'll really love it. Alexia's gonna we'll probably do a little bit of sewing this summer because she's already like biting at the bit on that one. So that's one that I'm probably gonna do a lot more having to build because there's just not as much available. Moving on, for March, this is another Alexi unit study that she picked. She wants to do electronics. That's what she said. So we're gonna definitely be doing like electricity, circuits, safety, batteries, and do some like fun stuff with that. So I think that'll be another fun unit for us. Zoe, I think we'll get into it, but that was definitely like, that's, you know, Lexi, my little engineer. That's an Alexa unit for sure. In April, I picked this unit. I suggested it to them and they were both like, we're gonna start doing some like Canadian stuff. So we're gonna focus mostly on like geography this year, provinces, that kind of stuff. And learning about Canada as a country, and then like slowly moving into learning about my goal is over every year to do one like Canadian type unit, whether it is the Indigenous people of Canada, whether it is like the history of settlers and colonizers, whether it is, Confederation or more in-depth geography, like always doing one kind of like a little bit of Canadian history or geography every year. And so this year we're going to start with like geography, name the provinces, find them on a map, cool facts about them, kind of have a fun little like intro to Canada with my kids, especially Zoe. Like Alexi understands what Canada is as like a country. Zoe is not 100% sure because she often just says, where is Canada? And she lives in the middle of Canada. So we're going to work on that. She's also 5, so fair enough. When we get to May, we're going to do, this is what Zoe wanted. She wants to learn about habitats. And I thought this would be a fun unit. I did get this one as a PDF because this is I think it's a grade 3 topic in Ontario. And so there's lots of like habitat unit studies and habitat options out there. I think I found one for like $6 that is a printable and it has everything that I would need, including like activities and stuff. So like, why would I spend, I'm obviously going to supplement it. I'm going to bring in some like great movies, bring in a great book, talk about different kinds of things, probably do a couple different activities or like a big final project. But like in terms of like the day-to-day work, or I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to let the PDF do the work for me. So different types of habitats, adaptations for your habitats, and like the animals that live there, which is very much a Zoe topic. Now, and I want to just say, like, Zoe didn't say I want to learn about habitat. She said I want to learn about where animals live. Sometimes you got to read between the lines when you ask your kids what they want to learn about. So yeah, and then come June, this one surprised me again. This was Alexi. Zoe was pretty down with it, but this was Alexi. She wanted to learn about plants and seeds. And so again, there's a lot of PDFs out there, a lot of activities out there on Pinterest that I'm going to just use their activities and their resources to kind of like make my life a little bit easier. So we're going to learn about seeds and types of them, parts of plants, things we eat, plants we eat, pollination and germination, all that good stuff. That is a PDF that I have. And then we're going to come to July where we relax. July we just hang out. We don't typically do very much. We do a lot of traveling actually in July and go visiting family and stuff. So this is what we're going to study this year. That's like laying out my long-term planning. Like I said, I let my kids pick, and they picked everything other than Canada. So I think that's a pretty interesting thing, that as you let them pick, they become more and more open to like telling you what they want to learn. And sometimes on my phone, I keep a list of like things that they have brought up. So if they've brought up something a couple of times, I'll put it in there. And if they only come up with 2 options, or we don't have enough options, I have like a kind of a running list on my phone of like, hey, here's some things you've talked about this year. Do you want to learn about any of these? And sometimes they're like, oh yeah, we were talking about that in the fall. I totally forgot about it. Yeah, let's do that. That really helps. It helps me come up with some ideas, but my kids had so many ideas this year that I didn't even need my list. So this is what we're learning about. I'm excited. Let's do here. We'll walk you through the homeschool planner. Reading list. I'm going to be filling in our novel studies. Typically our novel studies go with our unit studies. So like I have The Wild Robot. That's going to go with our electronics. Should I put that in here? Okay, so I'm definitely going to, this is what I use this for, is usually our novel studies, or if there's like a whole bunch of things, specific books I want the kids to read, that's where I put this. Come closer to September, I think probably at the end of August, I will do like a whole video on what my like monthly planning looks like and getting ready for back to school. And I will do a whole video on what our weekly time blocking looks like, because time blocking changes. There's a couple pages for time blocking because your schedule changes so much, at different times of the year, depending on what activities are available, the weather, who's home. Like I said, over summer, our summer, for I think it's like 9.5 weeks, our schedule is totally different than any other part of the year, because my husband's home and he's just like another energy that we deal with during the week. So it changes our whole schedule, and that's okay. Just being aware and being okay with that. There's lots of room in here to like make adjustments. This is exciting. This was a popular request. I had so many people ask me to include the unit study planners in the homeschool planner that I did it. So you actually have room in here to plan 12 unit studies. That is like so much room to plan unit studies. And I am going to use these. I'm going to use these for the units that I have PDFs for. I'm just going to write that I have a PDF for it in the notes section. But I'm going to put the topic. I'm going to put the big novel that we would do. I'm going to pick the big activity or project that we do. I'm going to add in any films or TV shows that are about that I can pull in, because I always think it's important to have a couple different options. Because you never know, if you just have a rainy day, or you're tired, or the kids aren't feeling great, that becomes a quick educational activity that I can put on and they're in love with it, right? A TV show or a movie, I think, is always good to have at least 2 or 3 ready to put on that are on topic. And then you've satisfied your learning needs for the day. It just helps me feel better. Field trip ideas, activities or assignments, here's where I would put, if I'm doing any extras on a PDF, I put my extra activities here. But if I'm doing building my own, this is where I would put what specific activities we're doing or what specific hands-on learning activities I do here. So these are great. You can either use them to build a whole unit study yourself, or you can use them to kind of supplement and put some ideas for a unit study that you've already purchased or downloaded for free from the internet, they're here. They're fantastic. There's lots of room for that. And that is now included thanks to you guys. So then we have some more fun quotes, and then we get into like our monthly spread. I'm going to show you guys what these look like because I know I'm going to get a million questions about it. So here's our monthly spread. Here are things I want to celebrate. Here are topics of the month. So I usually put what my topic of the month is, and then I usually put a post-it note here. And anything that I need to pick up, I put it right here. So like I will put in, like I need pens, I need markers, because this is August, so it's going to be my school supply. Notebooks, duotangs. I don't know what you guys call those in the States. Folders with little tabs. We call them duotangs in Canada. I know we all know what those are called. In the States, I know that's a different word. But yeah, so like things that I'm going to need this year, I'm going to put those here, and we're going to be good to go. So things I'm going to celebrate, things I want to do this month, whether they are homeschooling or not. And then I also have some like habit trackers. So making one of my goals for the fall, we kind of got off a little bit. We kind of haven't been reading at night as much as I would like. And so that'll be one of the habits that we'll be tracking, is trying to do a little bit more reading at night. But then we get into like our monthly spread where you can like put in, okay, we have a co-op meeting up this day. We have choir practice on this day. The kids have a dentist appointment on this day. Definitely like just like a regular calendar so you can keep track of what you need to do every day. And then we get into like our weekly spread where you can put your subjects or your kids. So some options here. How I do it typically, because I only have two, is I put my subjects here and then I go this way and I do Alexi and then Zoe. Like I would go like A and Z, raising A to Z. And I put what Alexi's doing in terms of math, what Zoe's doing in terms of math for that day. And then I would go down the subjects that way. But I have seen some people who do it differently. And what they actually do is they give each box, or they'll do like 2 boxes per kid or 1 box per kid, and they'll do what that kid is doing for that day. So if you have 4 or 5 kids, you can actually just give them a box and write down what they're doing on that day. And it does go into Saturday and Sunday because I think a lot of people don't realize that homeschoolers sometimes do use the weekends, especially if you are a parent who is working or you have, like I said, my husband does a lot of the music lessons. Those happen on the weekend. And so that gives us that option as well of like using the weekend in terms of our schedule because that just works for us. Come closer to September, I will definitely do a video on like how I set all this up when we're getting into like the nitty gritty. But I did want to show you one more thing that is at the back, if I can get to there. So there are pages for logins, which I always include because I always forget login passwords and stuff. We're using a lot more digital curriculum and digital things with our kids. So like sometimes we have apps that we like to use, like Teacher Wants to Read. So we have like that website and that thing with the login that goes on for that. Alexi's going to be doing Rosetta Stone this fall for her French lessons. So like we'll have the logins and information for that. That way I don't have to remember it all in my head. And I know that like computers and stuff remember logins, but then I often forget how to find those logins. So this is just a place kind of like a backup. And then there's also room for contacts. So this is where I'm going to put the people who are from like our co-op, their information, their phone numbers, co-op lessons, activities, like any of those people goes in here as well. So it's all in one place. And then there's some note pages to make ideas, lists. I like to include things like field trip ideas, or another one I include in here a lot is like sensory bin fillers, or actually I include a lot of like meal ideas in my planner as well, like quick lunches, because I hate making lunch. So that is how I'm going to use my homeschool planner. That is how our year is going to look for us next year. And I'm very excited because now it's done. And I can be excited about next year and wait for all of our novels and our stuff to come in. But I can also kind of relax and enjoy having my husband home, having the kids, working on, like I said, those new projects, podcasts, website, maybe a new book, all kinds of stuff. I can do that without having to think about what is September going to look like. because I already got I got a roadmap. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it's a bit of a longer video, but there's lots to get through when you're planning out a whole year, right? If you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe and click the bell to get notifications, and make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok so you can see exactly what we're doing over the summer, get notifications when we put out new videos, tips and tricks, and if you want to buy any of the essential homeschool planners, remember there's a link down at the bottom. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.